You smell that? You feel it? That sounds like the season is finally upon us. Hey, what up, world? What up, world, man? I am DJ Double Dose, man. We are in the building today with the Double Dose of Reality Sports Show, man, hosted by none other than me. I am DJ Double Dose, man. And guess what it is, baby? We have finally made it. Off season is over. That's right. Off season is over. We have our first slate of official games this weekend, as they classify it as week 0. Last year, Florida State played Duquesne in this week. You got a couple of matchups in this week, man. We will get to that later on in the week with the next episode. But on this episode, what it is labeled as is expectations. Now, some of us have unrealistic expectations. Miami. and a host of other people. Some people come into each and every season with very high expectations, as you should. I mean, it's your team, you love them, coaches, their jobs on the line, because as we see nowadays, these coaches don't get 3 and 4 years to turn. They don't get a lot of time to turn these programs around. So one could say expectations and reality go hand in hand, because if some of these ADs and some of these presidents feel like, hey, within 2 years, you are not meeting the expectations that they have, as we've seen in the past few years, these coaches are getting up out of there, man. So today's episode is about expectations for the 2023 season. Also, remember, this is it. You say, Dose, what is it? This is it, man. This is it. This is the last year of the 14 playoff. A lot of people are ready for it to go, because, I mean, think about it. It was a mess from the beginning. You made a playoff system for 4 teams when you had 5 Power 5 conferences. So it was a mess from the beginning. We've had some highs. We've had some lows. We've had some great championship games, and we've had some dud championship games. So for what it's worth, the 14 playoff, it's been what they wanted, by them only selecting 4 teams to make the playoffs instead of 6, where they could have had all 5 power conference champions and so forth and so forth. Hey, man, look. So that's one thing that's going away in 2023 at the end of the season. We also know that the pack, I'm just going to call it the pack, because I don't even know the number anymore, so I'm just going to call it the pack. The pack pretty much is done with exits of Oregon and USC and UCLA and Arizona. I mean, hell, everybody done damn near left. So the pack won't look the same after the completion of this year. Hell, the SEC won't look the same at the completion of this year once you bring in Texas and Oklahoma. So, 2023 is going to be a great season. We always look forward to it, but it may be a little downer because, some things are going to change, because in 2024, we're going to have the new 12-team playoff, and we're going to have a lot of faces in a lot of new places. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into our expectations for 2023. Here at Double Dose of Reality Sports, I pride myself on keeping it a buck. So with that, keeping it a buck, let's go ahead and let's look at the AP coaches. They pretty much was one the same. So we can even look at just what you want to call it. We look at the coaches preseason poll. Let's go ahead and look, because it raised a little, a couple of little eyebrows. Not really, but let's see what it's about. Okay. Let's pull it up. All right, here we go. We got it up in front of you. So when you look at the poll, the one thing that jumps out to you should be no surprise: Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Bama. The top 4 is the top 4. Those are the 4 teams that most people feel are going to, whatever you want to call it, going to make it to the playoffs. Okay, that's what most people feel. And we're going to round out the top 10. We're not going to really go too far past the top 10 because we're going to keep this short and sweet. 5, you got LSU. Why in the hell is LSU number 5? Story for another day. USC, Penn State, Florida State at 8, Clemson at 9, Washington at 10, and the beloved Texas at number 11. We're going to stop right there. We don't even want to go past the top 10. I'll keep it up for conversational purposes. We'll keep it up. When you look at that top 10 and you think about the expectations going into the season, all of those teams in that top 10, or if you want to count Texas in that top 11, they all have playoff aspirations. Now, every year we see people that come from, not every year, but we see people that rise from below this top 10 who leapfrog and they make things a lot interesting. You know, when you go into this season, I don't really think it's going to be that many people from the outside of this top 10 that's going to make it that interesting, because when you look at the way that some of the teams in the top 10, the way their schedules line up, some of them pretty much have a fairly easy path to get to where they want to be. Some of them have a couple of stumbling blocks, but my expectations, we're going to get into it. My expectations for the upcoming season, I'm going to tell you one right now that I don't think is going to happen. I do not think that we're going to have 2 teams from the SEC in the playoff. I don't think that's going to happen. And I also don't think we're going to have 2 teams from the Big Ten in the playoffs. I don't think that's going to happen. I know for the last couple, I know we've kind of seen that over the last few years, but this year, I think it's a lot more. I don't think there's a clip besides Georgia. Once you get past Georgia, I don't think there's a clear cut 2, 3, and 4. Although the poll had to list it that way. Once you get outside of Georgia, and Georgia is, if Georgia would have still had Oklahoma on this schedule, if Georgia would have still had Oklahoma on this schedule, Georgia's schedule would have been a little more interesting, because year 2 in Venables, who knows how Oklahoma is going to look. You know, Oklahoma could look, you know, they could look a whole lot better than they did last year. And facing Georgia this season, if they would have held on to their game, I think they would have gave Georgia a look, they would at least pinched them, would have made it a little scale. I'm going to go ahead and do it. Alabama. Let's say it. Alabama, the state that I lay my head in. I'm gonna go ahead and say it right now. I know a lot of y'all been watching the show, man. Y'all been digging me and y'all been giving me high fives and telling me, you know, everything been good. This right now, y'all probably gonna be pissed off when I say this, but it is. Last season was probably one of the worst seasons, one of the worst teams Alabama had in a while. That's right, LSU. That's right. That win that y'all sitting around here so happily about that you got. Most Alabama fans will tell you that was probably one of their worst teams they've had in a while. But y'all go ahead and go off and continue to, woohoo, we beat Bama, and woo, we gonna come into this season, because, you know what I'm saying, and ignore the fact that you got your ass whooped by anyway. This part is about Alabama. It's not about LSU. It's about Alabama. When you look at what Alabama has this season, some say they got quarterback issues or controversy or whatever. They don't know who they want to look. But from all the reports that's coming out, it's looking like Milroe done took a step forward. Now, how long does he hold on to the job? We will see. But I'm going to tell y'all something. Some of my Bama fans may like this. I'm going to tell y'all something. If Jalen Milroe becomes their quarterback and he has improved the way that things are being stated that he has improved, Alabama's going to be a problem. They're going to be a problem because their defense this year is nasty. It's nasty. They're going to be a problem. I get it. I know we laugh and we joke and we want to say, you know, whatever we want to make our comments about Alabama, but I'm going to tell you something. And you can mark my word on this. If Jalen Milroe can at least be a 60 to 65% passer. And that is not great. But that's going to be good enough to complement that defense. And you think they ain't got people on their hit list? Let's be clear. Tennessee, y'all got to come to Brian Denny. LSU, y'all got to go to Brian Denny. So for what it's worth, even Texas, as much as we want to say, hey, you know, that game against Texas was, you know, if Quinn Ewers plays, you know, who knows what happens. Texas got to come there too. So everybody that knows me know I am not by any stretch of the word a Alabama fan. Not one bit. Not the least little bit. But I'm gonna tell you, and I want to keep it with this because I don't want people to run with it. I'm gonna say it like this. If I think it's Jalen, I believe it's Jalen. What Milroe? I'm just gonna call him Milroe because I don't want to mess up his first name. If Milroe can be anywhere between a 60 to 65% passer with his accuracy, we already know he is fast as hell. So we know what he can do with his legs. If he can complete anywhere from 60 to 65% of his passes, which is not asking a lot, to complement that defense, Alabama's going to be a problem. And a lot of people are, as we've heard, you can't count Nick Saban out. And this would be one of those years where nobody's finally not talking about him. Everybody is just saying, hey, it's Georgia. You know, we'll get on Michigan in just a minute. And I'm just saying, as much as it pains me to say this, it pains me to admit this. It does. I promise you it does. Alabama's going to be a problem this year if Milroe can get it together. And our reports say it's looking like he's doing what they need him to do. And I think that that's probably what people are maybe misconstruing. Like, he's doing what they need him to do so far from what we hear. Now, when them live bullets start flying, we'll see how all of that goes once the live bullets start flying. Because, like I said again, to bring up Texas, they face Texas in week 2. So it's not like they're going to have a long time to really figure it out. They got Texas in week 2. So that's my thoughts on the good old people down there in Tuscaloosa, the Crimson Tide. Hey, man, look, at the end of the day, y'all know I don't care for y'all at all. I mean, I hope everything I just said for the last 5 minutes is completely wrong and y'all lose 4 games this year. Trust and believe that. But part of me has to be objective. And objectively speaking, if Milroe can handle his business, I think that Alabama is going to be a problem. Let's continue to look on. LSU. Let's talk about LSU for a moment. Since they're everybody's, you know, everybody loves LSU right now. They love LSU right now. But let's talk about it. Shall we? Shall we talk about it? Shall we? Because people love to forget things. So let's talk about LSU. Let's talk about it. They lose to Florida State in the opener. Lost. They get blown out by Tennessee. Lost. They beat Alabama. We just talked about that. And then they struggle against Arkansas. They pull it out. Although they pull it out, they struggle against Arkansas. Lose to a... Matter of fact, lose ain't even a word because Texas A&M ran the ball down their goddamn throat. Basically, whooped their ass into submission. I said it, whooped their ass into submission. Ran the ball down their damn throat. And then they go up against Georgia and get their ass whooped too. Now ask yourself, do we just celebrate the one quote unquote big win? Or do we look at some of these losses that they had? And you gonna put them at 5? Okay. All right. We'll see how this season plays itself out. But I got a feeling it's gonna look very similar to last year. Hate to break it to y'all, but They're undefeated, not happening. So, yeah, that's my take on number 5 LSU. USC, Heisman returning quarterback, Caleb. Did they do enough on the defensive side of the ball to help USC? Because let's be clear, that defense, in the words of a few people that we know, a lot of people have used this word and they have said in a lot of different expressions. But USC's defense last year was trash. I mean, it was flat out trash. They couldn't stop nobody at all. Now, they've added a few key pieces to that defense. And with the addition that they added to the defense, if you believe that defense can be average, this is how bad their defense was last year. We're saying that if their defense can be average, not good, not great, just if they can be average, there's a good chance that USC, I won't say run the table because I don't know if they're gonna go undefeated, but there's a good chance that they could come out of the Pac-12 for what is left with just one loss and find themselves, because again, had they not lost to Utah, there wouldn't have been a TCU. USC would have been sitting right there. So you have to think about that. You have to think about that. You know, at the end of the day, if that defense can be any bit better than it was last year, USC can find themselves sitting in the playoffs. I do believe that. I do believe that 100%. We talked about Clemson and Florida State in the ACC preview show that we did last week. No need to dwell on that, because at the end of the day, both of those teams, their schedule, Florida State and Clemson, their non-conference schedule sets up to where, hey, if they win those and win the conference, they're in the playoffs. I mean, it's just one or the other, then they're going to make it. So it's no need to dwell on that. Interesting take for me also that a lot of people outside of Big Ten country are not talking about. I'm not talking about Michigan enough for me. Michigan returns a lot. A lot of what made Michigan what they were last year is returning. And you think about it. You think about Ohio State right now. I mean, I know we understand with Ohio State, hey, they get 5 stars out of 5. They just like Georgia to a certain degree. They get 5 stars to 5 stars to 5 stars to 5 stars to 5 stars. But let's be real now. Ryan Day has had his problems with Michigan the last couple of years. And this year he's breaking in. I mean, again, albeit, you know, it is what it is. He's breaking in a new quarterback. You know, how much do we see Marvin Harrison? How much does he play? Does he play the whole season? Does he play? I mean, because we already know 9 times out, like we said, if this kid could have came out last year, he would have been probably one of the second or third receivers off the board. So how much does how much does he play? How much can you really depend on him? You know, how much can you depend on him? If they suffer a loss early in the season, what happens from there? I personally, it's just me, I like Michigan a little more than I like Ohio State this year. I do. There's a lot to like about Michigan. And let's be real, their non-con schedule is non-existent. And Harbaugh done had it that way for a while. They ain't played nobody in the non-conference in a while. And this year is no different. So they're going to complete the non-con games. And then you look at their schedule within the Big Ten. I mean, we already know they're going to face. You already know who they're going to face. So, and outside of Ohio State, Michigan is flat out better than everybody in the Big Ten. I mean, I know people in Happy Valley. I know Penn State. Y'all got something to say. And that's why y'all sitting there at 7, because y'all got something to say. I get it. But the truth is, Michigan is more talented than a lot of people that they're going to face. The majority of people they're going to face, Michigan is more talented than them. So I fully expect Michigan, one way or the other, as we've heard in the past about hook or by crook, I fully expect Michigan to be in the playoff. Whether they make it because they have one loss and it'll come because they have one loss, or they make it because it'll come. Either way it go, I fully expect Michigan to be in the playoffs. I do. Last but not least, as we wrap our expectations up, I just want to say, let's enjoy this season, because when we get to the 12-team playoff, there's going to be a lot of teams that's going to be in the playoffs. There's going to be a lot of 2-loss teams. Well, not a lot, but there'll be 2-loss teams in the playoffs. So this season right here is going to be, I think that because it's the end, it's going to be awesome. I mean, all the seasons are going to be awesome, but I think this season is really going to be awesome. And I think we should just make sure that we get caught up in who we like and who we love and this and that. But let's make sure that we take a step back to enjoy what it is, because we've gone from, let's think back to how we've gotten where we've gotten with the way we pick our champion in college football. I mean, at one point in time, you had writers, you had people picking it. At another point in time, we had 2 teams from the computer. Then from there, we've gone to 4. And now we're going to go to 12. I don't know about you, but I think 12 is too many. But hey, it is what it is. That's what they wanted to do. So, that's what we're going to roll with. We're going to watch it regardless. But I just say, my expectation for this upcoming season is we're going to see a lot of exciting games. We're going to see a lot of people playing their ass off, because look at what happened last year. TCU really came from nowhere. Did they have some tough games along the way as they made? They did. TCU came out of nowhere. So just because you don't see your team in the top 10 right now, that doesn't mean absolutely nothing, because the games got to get played. People get hurt. Scandals happen. Suspensions. I mean, everything. I mean, things happen. So just because you don't see your favorite team in the top 10, that does not mean that they can't do what people have done in the past. And my other expectation for this upcoming season is, and I've said it on the other show, I'm going to say it again, and I'm probably going to say it later on this week when I give my conference predictions. Make sure you tune in for those, because it's going to be the people I picked to win the conference is going to be interesting. I don't think Georgia three-peats. I think that Georgia wins the SEC, but I do not think Georgia three-peats. And I also don't think Ohio State figures it out. I do not think Ohio State wins the national title. I don't. Sorry, I hate to break it to y'all, but I don't see y'all pulling it off either. So, with all of that being said, I just want to make sure that when we get to our conference predictions, which I'm going to do in the next episode, we just make sure that we take the time out this season to remember that this is the last season on the 14 playoff. I fully expect chaos as we always. It's not going to be the status quo, people. It's not. It's not. Every year we get things that happen unexpected, and I don't expect this year to be any different than that. So as I close out of here, I'm going to say what I always say, man. Live, laugh, and love. Live your life to the fullest. Find you something to laugh at every single day, and love on the people that love you back, man. And we out.